So the first part of our discussion is going to be about the subject overview, where you will understand the entire content of this particular subject. So here basically we have categorized the subject into 6 parts. Okay, this is purely based on the textbook content that you have. So it's first one, the audit framework and regulation, which on a very lighter note, students actually neglect preparing it, but I'll tell you why and how it becomes very important. Then the second one, planning and risk assessment. Then you have internal control, audit evidence, review and reporting, employability and technological skills. Okay. So basically when we categorize, this is going to be A. Okay. This part is considered to be separate altogether. That is B, I can take it. And this we can consider as C. Alright. Now, usually the tendency about the students will be that they would happen to neglect the part A, okay, which I would consider to be very important, because basically when I discuss with you about the question paper type, you would realize that the first part will basically come from here. Okay, so it becomes very important for the students to focus on this part of this topic also, or the syllabus also. These obviously by very nature, they are very important. That is planning and risk assessment, internal control, audit evidence, review and reporting as well. These are considered to be extremely important, but students have a mindset that if I have to pass, I have to prepare these in detail and comprehensively, I should actually concentrate on these. That is not the attitude that we keep. When we do a professional preparation, we know that we are going to be the professionals in the market. So there cannot be something that we do selective. Correct? So these, no doubt, importance is given, but ignorance for the others cannot be done. Correct? So these basically hold a lot of importance. And the third category is the employability and the technological skills. So this is basically an understanding of the overall syllabus. The content of each, obviously when we do the topics in detail, you'll be understanding it. But overall, these are the topics that we are going to cover. Alright, then. Having understood the subject overview, I clearly know that you all must be more interested in knowing the examination format. Basically, we all are here to attend the exam and to pass it, correct? So let us first understand the structure of the examination. Okay, as you all must be informed and you already have an information about it, that the examination is completely going to be computer based. So it is going to be the CBE pattern, that is the computer based examinations. So applied skill, all the papers are going to be CBE. Now the most important part of our discussion is the exam pattern. Basically, the entire examination, 100 marks, 3 hours. Correct? This 100 marks is basically categorized into section A and then we have section B. Section A will have 3 10 marks questions. Okay? These are purely going to be objective. MCQ types, objective questions. Correct? So how the question framing will be? You will have one question with usually 5 of the questions under it. Second, again we will be having 5. Third, 5. So basically there is going to be 3 10-mark case studies based on the question, total of 30. Okay? So you will have 10 mark for the first one, second and the third. Correct? So that is the way we have the questions. So 3 questions you will be having, 10 marks questions would be these. Alright? Now, total of 30 marks that we have, that will be equaling to 30 marks. Okay? Here basically you have one question which is going to be elaborate case study, and based on that case study you will be having 5 questions. Each question will be carrying 2 marks. Correct? Alright. So they are purely objective, and here basically you are tested on technicalities. Okay? Technical way of that means how are you able to interpret the case study and you are able to attempt the answers. Okay? They are going to be purely objective, no descriptive type of answers. You don't have to explain, no description to be given. You simply have to tick mark. Alright? So that is what the section A which is talking about. Alright? Then, here section A includes all, like basically we concentrate more on audit framework and regulation. You have the employability and technological skills. These 2 parts are tested 100% when it comes to section A. But you cannot say that this part is not tested. That is the B1 which I have told will not be tested. Absolutely no. Many questions appear from the audit framework and regulation along with the C part. But there could be a possibility that you also have questions coming from the category B. That is planning and risk assessment, internal control, audit evidence. From there also we could expect questions in the first category. Okay. So section A, so once again you will have 3 10-mark questions, purely case study basis, 3 case study questions, every case study will have 5 questions, 2 marker each, okay, a total of 10, okay, like that 3 questions will make it 30 marks, alright. Then comes to part B, which is the most important one, which is covering 70 marks, alright. Then here you will have one question which is going to be of 30 marks, okay. 2 questions which are going to be of 20 marks each. This particular part is usually, or the focused area for this is the entire part B that we are going to talk. That is planning and risk assessment, internal control, audit evidence. These 3 parts are being tested in the part B that you have. The section B usually it covers actually this particular topics. So which is that risk assessment and planning, the internal control, and you have is the audit evidence. So questions from these topics are concentrated on the second part. Okay, here you'll have one question of 30 marks, so quite a big one. 2 questions you'll have of 20 marks each. These are going to be descriptive, very, very important, that you should be able to analyze, understand and interpret. Everything should be done correctly. Most importantly, writing is becoming very, very important here. Alright, then. So that is basically the the format in which the questions will be appearing. So 100 mark, 3 hours, section A, section B. Section A purely objective, section B descriptive. Section A will have 3 questions, 10 marks each. Every case study will have 5 questions underneath, carrying 2 marks each. So basically 1 question 10 marks into 3 questions will make it a 30 mark span. On the other side you have section B, which is considered to be very comprehensive, very much detailed. Okay, most importantly it is going to be very, very important because major parts of the topics are covered here, which are risk assessment and planning, internal control, audit evidence. 30 mark question 1, 20 mark question 2. So that is the way the topic has been divided. Alright. So that is the way you have, and understand the exam is all computer based. So writing practice basically means typing practice. If you really do not have that skill with you, if you really do not have the typing faster, it is going to be a problem. Okay. Now, I know you all must be very interested basically to understand how do we score really well. Okay. Before I get on with taking the pointers which I have captured here, one important element which I want to discuss with you is that we have 2 categories, 2 sections that we have divided the subject in, section A and section B. A mindset of the students, the perception in the minds of the students is that they will prepare extraordinarily well for section B. Section A, they keep it for a toss. An absolute wrong attitude. The only way in which you can actually perform really well, improve your chance of passing, will be that you concentrate and you actually perform well in the section A, the 30 marker. Understanding? Because this is actually going to give you the benefit of passing. Here, there are going to be objective type of questions, no negative marking that we already know. So basically, my understanding would be very clear that you have to prepare yourself extremely well when it comes to part A instead of part B. I'm not saying instead, that means you don't prepare the part B well. But do not be under an understanding that 70 marks are going to come from in the part B are restricted only to 3 topics. So let me focus, concentrate, repeatedly revise only those and actually ignore the section A, or let us keep it for the last minute. No. The actual way in which you can actually perform or outperform to get a very good result, we would call it that you actually focus also equally on the part A, that is the section A of 30 marks, the objective questions. There are a lot of benefits behind it. Clear? Alright. Now, what are the tips for scoring? First, very important is the time management. The biggest problem with the students, okay, is the recent times has been the management of the time which has become very bad. Effectively, if you look at the numerical calculation, then you will have 1.8 minutes per mark. Obviously, you'll take some time for thinking, you'll do some analysis, sometimes some disturbance, because of which there is going to be some kind of normal loss. So you have to be very, very particular that you actually do it properly. Correct? Then, proper preparation for section A, which I elaborated it now. Don't get carried away with only section B and prepare only for section B. Understand that is important. But along with that, section A, if you perform well, there is highest possibility that you will be scoring very well in the examination. The key to success, the key to getting a really good score, the key to increasing your chance of passing is not section B, it is section A. So you need to actually prepare well at that point of place. Then write mock test, extremely important. Why mock test is important is because two things. First, your writing practice will improve. Second, you will also come across the important point, that is time management. I will always recommend to you that if you really want to increase your chances of scoring really well, if you want to really perform extraordinary, okay, then in that case, you have to solve the mock test papers. Mock tests are available with the revision kits that you get from the known publishers. You'll be having on the ACCA portal as well, where you could actually work on those mock tests which are available. And this I would recommend that you put a timer and solve it. Reason being, it is very important that you cover up the paper, but not only covering up the paper is important, covering up between the given timeline. Understand, if a particular paper is given for 6 hours, every person will pass. The content is not the competition or the challenge. The time is the real challenge. So the 100 marks to be written in 3 hours is what we call it to be a challenge that you are facing there. Because after studying, content you know, but the real challenge is remembering, reading everything correctly, comprehending it, interpreting it, everything should happen in 3 hours. So the essence for our scoring would be the time management. Got it? So that is the next one. I have also categorized something which is specifically I want to give it for section A and some specific points for section B. Specifically for section A, attempt all. We don't have the concept of negative marking. Then why do you want to leave for a toss? See, understand, when you start writing the paper, start attempting all of them. There could be some that you really know very well, okay? Others, there could be a possibility that you're not very clear. So at that point of time, you leave it. But then there is a possibility that as and when you go on solving the remaining paper, two possibilities could happen. One, you could either recollect the concept. Second, in some other question, there could be some hint for this particular answer. So there is a possibility that you will be able to get an answer either through your subconscious mind, or there could be a possibility that some other question is designed in a manner that you would get an indication to the correct answer here. So what you do in the initial stage, you start writing all of them, but those where you have a doubt, you wait and you come back to that again. After coming back to that again, also you are not able to recollect, then try using the elimination technique. What is elimination technique? 50-50. Okay, what is 50-50? KBC you all must have seen. That where you'll be having 4 options, out of which you know 2 definitely are not going to be the answers. So you go on eliminating them. 50% pass of you getting the correct one. 50%, okay, of your chances to end up with the correct answer. So elimination is what you're going to use as a process where you could straight away eliminate some of the options which are available. So those you eliminate, from the remaining 2 you have to pick up 1. So 50% of the chance of you ending up with the correct answer. Correct? So if you cannot do that, use the elimination technique. Okay? Then, specific to section B, which is basically going to be descriptive one, there, compulsory practice in writing. Writing means definitely, I mean typing. It is computer based exam, you can't write there. You have to actually type. See that you improve your chances or improve your performance by having a practice on those particular computer aided computer devices. Because ultimately you have to present the paper in that way. So it's very important that you continuously keep on having the practice, because this is not something which is going to be built overnight. Momentum always comes with practice. So if you think that, okay, let me now study, prepare, and at the last minute, I will do the practice on the computers, it is not going to work. So when you prepare, when you attempt the questions, when you practice the writing part of it, see that you type and assure yourself that you have become now computer friendly. Okay, because there speed really counts and accuracy becomes very important. Correct? So that is practice. Read, comprehend and write is the key. Understand case studies, the questions are going to run like the length is going to be heavy. So you need to understand that you have to read quickly, comprehend, that is understand it properly, and then start the writing of it. If you spend a lot of time in reading, then a lot of time in understanding, and then writing also is taking time, your entire time will go in one particular question and you lack time management and you will not be able to complete the paper. Correct? So reading, comprehending and writing is everything, a key which is required for you to successfully score in this paper. Write short and clear sentences to give your idea, the clarity in your idea. Understand when it is descriptive paper, come out of the mindset that you have to write pages and pages, narratively record everything, keep on repeating the points, beat around the bush, not required. Keep your answers very straightforward, crisp, very clearly giving the examiner the main idea of what you have understood. It is very important that you only communicate the concept clearly, understand that you communicate your interpretation to them, communicate the conclusion that you have drawn. For this, you don't have to just keep on repeating the sentences, using active and passive voice and all of that, not required, to extend the length of your answer. Not required. You keep it very crisp, short, okay, and it should only be able to give the idea very clearly. Tell him you know the concept, you interpret it correctly and you are able to conclude also correctly. If that is what you intimate or you inform the other person, then it is done. You don't have to be in an understanding, 30 marks, descriptive, I need to write elaborately, not required. Correct? So that is section B. Then, this basically I gave you only for a specific understanding of A and B. Along with that, there are some more common pointers which I want to tell you is that you have some best publishers available in the market, like for ACCA highly recommended is Kaplan and BPP. They are very good publishers in the market where they come up with their workbooks also and the revision kits also. Only one recommendation is that when you pick up one publisher, see that you stick to it. You could take the questions from the others for practice, but the language, the writing way, everything, see that you follow one particular publisher. Otherwise, if you mix them, you'll have a confusion. Okay, try to incline yourself or keep yourself aligned with a particular publisher only. Okay, so that there is no confusion in the way you formulate your answers and all of that. So keep it very clear. Then also very important thing is the compulsorily you have to do the past examination questions. Without that, you should not attempt the final examination because this is going to boost your confidence. You will get a very clear idea of how the examination questions look like, and only with the exposure to these questions, you will be having the confidence to attempt the main paper. Without confidence, attempting will become a big disaster. Okay, so this is one of the ways of boosting the confidence also, and very importantly, you will get a clear idea of how the examination papers would look like. Okay, then. One very interesting fact that I have come across by looking at the previous examination questions or the case studies, which I simply want to share with all of you, is that sometimes what happens, the case studies looks very long. They are like quite long paragraphs that they are there, and you'll be having questions based on the case studies. Sometimes it so happens that the questions are so much not connected to the case studies that you can actually directly attempt the questions without reading the entire case. Okay. So, sometimes what you can do is, instead of reading the entire case study first, I would recommend that you first read the questions. Sometimes really happens that the questions when you read, okay, then you will be understanding that a few of the questions actually do not require any kind of reading. They are directly concepts. So, like that your your time would be saved. Also, once you understand what is the question that we have to attempt, then when you are reading the case study, you will be able to focus only on those areas where you will be able to catch it very clearly that yeah, this area is where the question has been focused on. So that is the way in which you'll be able to comprehend very easily. Got it? So I would recommend that when you're doing the case studies with a view of saving the time or for a proper time management, you actually go through the questions first. Okay? Once you get the understanding of the questions, what are the kinds of questions being asked, then only you'll be in a position that you'll be able to read the case study in the right direction. Otherwise, what happens, the case studies are so long. Sometimes there is so much information given there which will actually not be required, and with the flow of the information you'll get carried away with, you'll forget from where you started sometimes. So it really happens like that. So basic idea is we have to end up giving the answer. So let us read the question and understand what are the questions. Then read it, you'll find it very beneficial. So this is one of the tips which I wanted to give for better time management. And ultimately, better time management is better scoring. Got it? Yeah. One more important thing is, there has been a repeated question from the students, whether the standards on auditing, that is the ISAs, whether numbers have to be remembered, by hearted, and all of that. You have to understand the content given in the standard. If that you are able to interpret, write it well, then only rote reading, that is only by hearting the standard numbers, would not be enough. So if you can remember, it's the cherry on the cake, absolutely allowed. But only remembering the numbers, not the content, understandability, is not going to help you. So, okay, you have to understand the content, the meaning, the in-depth knowledge of every standard. If along with that you are able to recollect the number also properly, nothing like it. But only rote learning of the standard numbers would not be enough for you. Alright. So, that is all the important things which I want to highlight. Also, one thing which is very important for the section B is that these questions which come from a risk assessment and planning, internal control, audit evidence, it is very important for you to get the in-depth understanding. Because sometimes the questions are based on measurement, ratios, some calculations are connected. So, those of things you can do only when you are conceptually very, very clear. Okay, so never study any topic just for the sake of it, only overviewing it and not getting in detail of it. So, that you should not do. You should actually get into the detailing of it, get the 100% concept. Then you will be able to understand the section B also very well. Okay. Biggest tip for passing and scoring well is concentrate on section A as equally as you're concentrating on section B. Most important, practice your typing because computer-based exams. Time management is the skill or the skill set required for success. And when you're going to study this subject of audit and assurance, AA, that is F8, which we call it, okay, understand this basics will be very important for obviously financial accounting, because if you know accounts only you can do audit. Financial reporting, because we are examining the financial statements. Then you also require to prepare for your next level, which is going to be advanced auditing and assurance, the basic of which is going to be this subject. Also we require for strategic business models, where this subject will become very important. So this, along with the passing of the applied skill level, becomes very important in all these directions also. So preparation with a conceptual clarity becomes very, very important. Prepare the subject in such a manner that once you are done with it, when you are given an assurance engagement, you are in a position to handle it all by yourself with a proper understanding.
Hey, are you considering ACCA as a career path? Then you're at the right place. Call us at 9640 111110 or log into indigolearn.com or download our app OneFin by Indigolearn.